Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Uh, it was sort of mentioned in the comment section that I do some sort of tier list. To be honest, I'll tell you what I told them. I know tier lists are eaten up in terms of views, um, but I'm not really going for views too much. So I decided, I gave it some thought, and they were right. Like maybe some sort of like overall design change because of Runa on how you should consider weapons. Um, So I'm going to phrase this as categories of weapons with noticeable difference in a couple in terms of their performance increase when uniquely combined with Voruna. And when I looked through everything, honestly, there were a couple of really noticeable exceptions or noticeable weapons that greatly got improved. Um, and I'm not going to place them in any order. Um, But the answer is the Ninkandi Prime. In terms of most improved, Jesus Christ, that is night and day. Um, and it's because of the stance with an 18 and 16 hit combo that, when combined with Voruna, now comes with force procs and a guaranteed status proc on a weapon that wasn't able to do that sort of stuff without a very specific Riven. The Ninkandi Prime is the current monster of abusing Voruna. But let's get to it. A lot of these are forgotten categories meant for people that really don't use them anymore or are seen as like MR fodder. The first one is going to be the MR, the Purex Wraith. Talking about MR fodder. Um, oh God, what is that? The Purex Wraith with a seismic palm stance, sporting a 30% crit chance and 2.6 or 2.7 crit multiplier. When picking these weapons out, I was looking for, in this order, crit multiplier, crit chance, and base damage. Because for the weapons, when you pair them with Voruna, you don't care about status chance so much. Um, it gets reduced when considering condition overload down to a lesser priority. So crit chance, crit damage, what hits those reds, what has that high crit multiplier, and what has the base damage to give a chunky scaling. And the Furex Wraith meets a lot of those. The base damage is kind of low, but when you compare its performance when combined with the Amalgam Furex body count mod, stagger enemies in a 15-meter radius makes utilizing the bonus duration on her one when you get a kill way easier. And it's a little bit of combo duration. You have to figure out where you put it. I'm probably going to end up putting it in the double crit location. Um, we don't need a Riven for this. But just going a very basic build setup, it's going to be really apparent. Condition Overload, Blood Rush, Reach, because obviously it's a very short range weapon. Fury, Organ Shatter, Gladiator Might. Let's see what the performance increase is. We'll bring in some nerds first and foremost. Easily hits oranges. But the important part about it is the standing auto has the wave, which has a very good range on it. It inherits the slash. So let's take a look at it. I'm probably going to end up building this weapon up because of how it's working. So mod it for a monster status. You want a monster raw damage status on it to get that damage up as high as possible. easy enough. Yeah, haven't used that since Cetus. But due to the crit chance and the crit multiplier on it, it's a heavy candidate because it can naturally hit oranges on its own, which means any other glide mod is going to start pushing you into red's territory. The next one of the same feeling, if you will, is the sparring weapons, particularly the Haruta. Jesus Christ, with a 30 and 3 crit chance, crit damage. Range is 1.25, so don't be afraid to double mod for range. Obviously, we're trying to get kills here, even over the Kokage, or however you pronounce this, Prime. The fact that it's impact only, you don't care about. Prisma Obex is also pretty good if you want to run the augment also. But it's 25 and 2, which is nothing compared to the Haruto. I am going to be running a Riven. It's got faction damage to Grenier on, plus range. Paying dividends on this. So we now have a 6.25 range. But 30 and 3 means these hits are going to be pretty hefty. And a lightning fast attack speed. That actually feels pretty good. Gentlemen and ladies, make sure to bind your attack to the scroll wheel, because that attack is fast. 1.55 before Arcane Strike kicks in. And not only that, but on top of it, the stance is very choppy to begin with, very quick attacks. So there's not a long period of like having a long animation or anything. It's quick little bops. Obviously, it's a sparring stance. But yeah, definitely a thing. So, food for thought. Obviously, if you don't have a Riven, you'll do something like this, just more crit damage. To push the crit multiplier even higher, sitting at a 7.5. So, very, very potent, very, very strong. You could even go faction. Actually, you'd probably want to go faction now that I think about it. Right there, nice and easy. You're just going to front load all of your damage on damage, crit chance, crit damage. We will be going up to stronger weapons. But a 461 raw damage with modded honestly isn't the worst. It's not the strongest one that I'm going to be listing, but it's definitely not the worst. Okay, the next one is going to be pole arms. And due to the nature, we're just going to go to the obvious one, the bow prime. I'm going to be using a Riven for this, and actually a really good Riven. Considering this is a prime weapon with a 1.5 dispo, it is now a monster. Because we were able to take off Weeping. We're able to freely mod for a combined element, and I even have space for this Riven, which is a crit chance, crit damage, status chance. So we're gonna be tasting a couple of reds today. But with the stance clashing forest, and this is where the buff mainly comes in. When you come out of stealth with Voruna, this stance gives you a very, very quick 4-hit auto. If you're jumping into a bunch of enemies, this is going to quickly bump you up to a 12x combo. The other thing to consider is, just for this example, I'm not going to be running range, so if you were to swap out something, obviously you wouldn't have the Riven. Reach would go here. Or you could also offload the attack speed onto the frame with Arcane Strike. For my build. But this would be something you would be looking at. Monster Corrosive, Monster, whatever deals with the enemy's defensive scaling. You just max into that. And then you do base damage, range, crit chance, crit damage, attack speed and just double down on it because you don't care about status chance. And this is on a impact weapon. Nice little 20Ks, 16Ks. But when you bump the attack speed up, it gets pretty tasty, and you can see where this is going. It's even got a lifted function to give you the 16th status. Nice and easy. Alright, so we did fists, sparring, pole arms. Okay, and probably another one. The next one, we'll do heavy blades. She came with Sarafang and Rending Crane, obviously for headshots. But the two biggest benefactors of this, if you look at the weighting on Sarafang, it's 20-20. Crit chance, crit multiplier, status chance. Well, we've got Tenek Exec, which is 38% and 2.4 crit multiplier. So this is going to be the biggest benefit, especially if you have Arcane Strike, so you can run double, if not triple, attack speed to deal with the innately slow attack speed of them. So again, going further into the buff, we're getting forced procs and whoop, there we go. Yeah, getting some reds. We're just going for raw damage since we don't have to worry about procking and status chancing. Like a status chance proc for slash, you just go raw damage, blow them up even faster, because if you really couldn't mod more into slash. If you went raw damage, you'd blow them up faster and only at like insanely high levels. Would you have wanted to go pure dot, right? So because of the crit chance, because of the crit multiplier, this weapon has benefited a lot from working with Voruna and is currently my go-to because of the Riven. I mean, range, crit damage, attack speed on it, sitting pretty good right now. So the build's pretty similar. Base damage, faction damage. I did use a Toxin Exec. So the ideal situation would be for an even stronger Exec would be to use an electric Exec, so when I combine Toxin with it, I get Corrosive, which I'm currently building. So, food for thought. With your Tenet weapons, try to make sure to use those Prime mods to benefit as much as possible. On melee, you got Prime Fever Strike, so you're looking for an electric weapon. Alright, and the best heavy blade that got a huge bump Rivenless is the old king of heavy blades, the Grand Prime. Very, very notable. Got a massive buff as well. Nice little 37 mil there. Feels good. So the Grand Prime is back in business. If you enjoy heavy blades. So if you got that sitting around, same thing. You're modding for corrosive against Grenier, gas against infested, and either magnetic for a one-shot against Corpus, or dive in, take advantage of the Prime mod, and go for the dot, right? All right, so in the category that got absolutely out of control, it's the freaking Ninkandis. With a very similar build. And one stance to choose from. The damage got pretty nutty. What did I miss? Faction. And due to the stance, it's got an 18 hit combo on it, an 18 hit stance. The auto while holding your right mouse, the auto D forward moving combo has a ton of multi-hit in it, and you basically blow up anything now. So let's test it out. What we're going to be using is the forward auto. I think it's a 13x and an 18x. So the thing that we're looking for is to nuke people. So even with basic, even the standing auto has a built-in headshot, which is super nice. Actually, it has several built-in headshots. Theory's pretty simple. You go in and you murder stuff. But due to the 4D stance, many multi-hits. So you get to pack, in like 3 seconds, you get to pack in like almost 50 instances of damage and 50 force procs a slash. So this is the clear winner. Because everything else is like, oh, I have crit damage but not a lot of attack speed, and I'm all single hit, or it's a slow multi-hit like on the heavy blades. None of that crap matters to the Ninkandi. It's got a super quick little hit on it. The Ninkandi Prime is the best of the category, and just to prove how busted the stance is, let's load up some garbage. The Shaku. I've got a Riven that's damage to Grenier, range toxin. Perfect for this. Base damage, attack speed, blood rush, Gladmite, faction, and electric to give us toxin. This weapon is normally impact only, so obviously it's going to be doing significantly more damage since it has access to 2 more elements. So let's go with this. Actually, let's do Fury. Obviously run whatever you want, but I read somewhere that this weapon has the worst time to kill. And it's sitting pretty good right now. Even with the 18% crit chance, Blood Rush Gladiator might get you to those yellows. But obviously the regular Ninkandi is the clear winner. So, food for thought. These weapons have been incredibly buffed, especially with their stance. There's a lot of AoEs. So it's perfect for diving in. The only downside to them is the follow through. If you're running range Rivens or Prime Reach with spring loaded blade, you're probably gonna cap out, but it's just gonna help you nuke something faster in the long run in a survival. So the Ninkandi Prime is the monster, and notable, because I didn't want to talk about truly meta things. another heavy benefactor of it is actually the Oma. Good lord. Gonna be using a Riven. It's a pretty nice Riven. But you're gonna get the same performance. So we'll get rid of this. Condition Overload, Blood Rush, Faction, Attack Speed. We got our Corrosive. We now need range and some crit damage. Bing. Good enough. Actually, I think this is better because I got crit chance, crit damage on there. Yep. So for a notoriously niche weapon, obviously those in the know the Oma was good. Massive improvements with the Sovereign Outcast stance. That's another notable one to consider. So all of these weapons have sort of like a bit of a trifecta to them. Decent attack speed with the exception of the Grand Prime. Decent crit damage, decent crit chance. And if you can, obviously with some of these weapons, they have smaller ranges. So you're looking for attack speed, crit chance, crit damage, base damage, and then range in that order. And ideally, if the weapon has an innate element on it, like another example of something that benefited, but it wasn't super high, would be the dual eye core. Pretty basic. But even with this build, it still doesn't matter. Base damage, reach, faction, blood rush, attack speed, double crit. Taking advantage of its 2.5 crit chance and 3x multiplier. It's a monster. Just got to deal with the range. Even though for shorter weapons like this, it's still a 2.3. So it feels pretty good. It's also got a really good Riven dispo. You can do some pretty nutty stuff with this. Slash for days. The slash damage, really liking that crit multiplier being so high. So there you go. Fists, sparring weapons, pole arms, heavy blades, and everything else after that was considered as trash weapon. As long as it's got a high crit chance and a high crit damage, you should at least take a look at it. Not necessarily do a full build. But the clear winner is the Ninkandis. It's so many slash procs. It's like, okay, well, you're getting, because of the base damage decrease, you're only getting like 40 to 50 slash procs. Well, okay, that's nice. Here's 18 of them, right? It's damage. So the biggest buff is the Ninkandi, especially for clearing AoE with the D standing auto. But especially that forward one with the spin. That's an 18 hit combo. It will kill something regardless of its level. So there you go. Have a blessed day, guys. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Take it easy.